I'm gonna start recording now. So I'm gonna send you the recording so you can go back and look at it as many times as you need to, so you don't have to rush write things down and it doesn't give you like that college PTSD that you're always continuously writing things down on your PowerPoint from the PowerPoint. So I just wanted to start off by saying thank you guys for supporting me and my brand. And if you guys do have any questions, please just use the chat. Um, and we can go from there. The last 30 minutes will be dedicated to only questions only. So you guys can ask me as many questions, whether they're about flights, accommodations, anything travel wise that you have on your mind. You can use that time to ask me, okay? And then also, um, if you do have a question or you need me to slow down, just raise your hand using or use the chat and just let me know, and then I will slow down or give a reaction so I can either repeat myself or just slow down for you guys. All right. So I'm going to start off talking about flights and going through my tips with flights with you guys because that's the main question I get all the time. How to find reasonable flights. And I did tackle this yesterday on my business page if you were watching and asking me certain places to go to. This is just an overall general how to tackle reasonable flights. So my first tip would be just timing and planning. Like you cannot expect to get a decent flight price if you want to go somewhere by next week. It is possible. You can do it. I've done it a couple times, but it's not reasonable, especially if you're trying to go to like the Caribbeans or Europe or Turkey or all these like nice places that people do go to. So you really need to plan, I say 4 or 5 months in advance. Um, um, Airlines and like Google Flights and websites where you can book trips allow you to book 8, 10 months in advance, but I don't think that's best because you don't even know what you're going to be doing in 8 to 10 months. So 4 or 5 months is what I give myself to plan using flights, planning my flights, accommodations, entire itinerary, and everything going from there. Um, and also, Skyscanner gives you the same amount of time, so you cannot plan a year in advance. It just doesn't allow you to look up flights, and flight changes all the time. I'm going somewhere next month, and they told me by what June, July that my flight would be canceled or delayed because of weather. How did they know? Because they're consistently watching weather and consistently watching the airlines and stuff like that just for that. So they changed my flight without canceling it, but not every airline does that. And then my second tip would be, or guys, do you guys have any questions based off planning? You can unmute yourself if you want to say something or just say no.
So planning, hey, movie, so, planning and about and what aspect, like you're talking about flights, because okay, so when you say you're planning like 4 or 5 months out, you say like for example, I want to go to Russia in 5 months. That's how you do it. You don't, and then you just start planning as you go up into the trip, or like you pay the ads up until the trip goes. You kind of like say in 5 months I want to be in Russia, and you like save up your money then so you can go in like a week or plan it in a week. Like how do you?
Oh, that's a good question. So, when I mean planning 4 or 5 months in advance, I mean, so, okay, this is how I plan my trips. I know where I'm going every year. So, next year I have 4 places that I want to go to. And I know when I want to go to them. So, like, the first half of the year, I'm going to one place. The second, I'm going to another. And the rest of the year, I'm going to 2 other places. So, I either plan like 4 international places and 2 domestic places that I'm going for the year. So planning that way is also strategic and it's very good for you. Like, so you have to be like, where do I want to go? And look at it like that. Or sometimes you can be like, let the flights take me to the destination that I want to go to. But planning that 4 or 5 months in advance is more based off a destination like you have in mind. Like, let's say you want to go to Jamaica, and you want to go it during your birthday. You would, if your since your birthday's in January, you would plan 4 or 5 months in advance for that, just to get the the most reasonable price. And usually, when I show you guys more, you'll see how that makes sense. If that answers your question. So my next tip will be for you guys is flexibility. So you need to be flexible. I know it's hard for some people. If you work a 9 to 5, you can only have like certain dates, and you're trying to use like you're not trying to use all your PTO, so you're using Saturday, Sunday, so you can get those days for free and not use PTO. But flexibility is such a big thing. I've gotten cheap flights because I stayed there for a week rather than doing a 4 day trip. So I went to Aruba for 199 instead of going for 396 because I stayed there for 7 days rather than 4 days. And not everybody can do that, but sometimes with airlines, if you're staying out there longer, you get a better price. And I will show you that when I'm navigating. So we're gonna do like a mock-up at the end, but I'm also gonna show you how I navigate these websites that help you be flexible and help you use them for like beneficial and they don't use you. So definitely do that. But the best days, I would say, it's almost a myth, but it's actually I've tested it out for months. The best days to leave are Tuesdays, Thursdays, and sometimes Wednesdays. So when you're booking you're booking, let's say you're going to Jamaica and you're booking your flight, um, you would want to leave on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or a Thursday, and whichever day is the cheapest you pick. And then you want to return on a Sunday or a Monday. So those are the best days to return because people are leaving those days. So let's say you want to go to Jamaica and you're like, oh, let's go on a Thursday and return on a Monday. So then for my people who work 9 to 5, that flexibility that you're talking about, you still get to use your Saturday and Sunday, and you only have to use Thursday, Friday, and Monday of like PTO instead of the entire time. If that makes sense. Or do you guys have any questions on that one? And then so there will be the tips in the chat. So if you're looking through the chat, they're going to be there just in case for you guys to go back. And like I said, you don't have to rush to write this down. I'm going to be sending you the recording so you guys can have all of that. My third trip is going to be know which airport to leave out of. I'm going to send you, when I send you the recording, I'm going to send you these little things as well, so you know. But like if you're flying from the East Coast, you do not want to leave from like Atlanta or let's say or Washington D.C. You want to leave from JFK. You want to leave from Newark. You want to leave from LaGuardia and sometimes Philly. And also, another good one. So those are okay. So those are the main 4 ones that you should leave from. But like, let's say if you're going to the Caribbean, the best airport to leave from is Miami or Fort Lauderdale because there's so many flights that are leaving there, and there is 45. It's almost like a 45-minute stop from like Miami or from Miami to LAX. I mean, not LAX. From Miami to like the Bahamas or from Miami to Jamaica or so it's easier for you to leave from these airports. And like I've gotten a lot of questions on how to find reasonable prices for Hawaii. This is the one. You have to leave from the West Coast to get your best price. So let's say you're going to LA. You're gonna want to stop from LA and go to Hawaii because it's cheaper to get there and it's less fuel that the planes have to use to get there. And Southwest Airlines always has deals. So you can get to Hawaii for $50, $50 round trip from LA. Like it's doable because Southwest has like this surprise flash deal that they do every year. And they allow you to book a flight from LAX to Hawaii, any parts of Hawaii, mainly Honolulu, which is the main island. And it's usually $50. And that includes two luggages. So either one check bag and one carry-on and a personal item. So that's 3 luggage that you get for free with Southwest. And I'm gonna actually show you this. So I'm gonna go through these tips with you, and then I'm gonna go back and show you everything that you can do using like manipulating these websites as well. And then my next tip. Okay, so Samantha, I live in her question is, I live in Florida, so would you say Fort Lauderdale or Miami for me? Would you go with specific airlines or just the best deal? Okay, so for you, I would definitely compare the two. So since you live in Florida, Fort Lauderdale and Miami is like a 30-minute drive away. If one's cheaper to fly out of Fort Lauderdale, fly out Fort Lauderdale. If it's cheaper to fly out of Miami, fly out of Miami. Would you go? The best deal I usually go with, because airlines coming from Miami and Fort Lauderdale are not like, they have like Bahamas have Bahamas Air, Jamaica has their own airlines as well. So it's not that far away from Florida. So you're only doing a 55-minute flight. So I would just go with the best deal and not a specific airlines. I mean, I don't recommend Frontier. But if it is that cheap flight, do it, because you're only going 45 minutes and 55 minutes there and back from Florida, if that helps, Samantha. And then my next tip would be, break down your trip. I've gotten a lot of people asking me how to get to Thailand, or how to get to Bali, or how to get to a certain place that's super expensive like Greece. Break your trip down. When I decided to go to the Bahamas the last moment, I got there. I did it in $250 because I broke it down, meaning like buy one way. So I bought a one way from Philadelphia to Miami, and then I bought a one way from Miami to the Bahamas, and then I did that on the way back. So I bought another flight from Bahamas to Miami, and then back to Miami to Philadelphia. And I bought all one ways, and it ended up just being $250 rather than paying so much money for like a round trip ticket. And on top of that, you have to make sure your times match up. So like you're creating your own layover, so you have to make your times match up. So if your flight gets delayed, you have to give yourself that wiggle room. Like when I went, both of my flight got delayed, so it worked out for me. So I flew from Philadelphia to Fort Lauderdale, and then my flight got delayed by 4 hours, which was sad, tragic, but it was okay because I still went to the Bahamas. And then on the way back, my flight ended up getting delayed to go back to Philadelphia, so it worked out in a sense. So if you do it that way, definitely make sure your times are matching up so you're not missing your next flight in that same airport. And especially because if it's a different airline, you got to run. I know like Atlanta, that airport is huge, and you have to run or get on a train somewhere and make sure you make it to your next airport. And also, different airlines have different baggage policies. So you might have been able to bring your carry on for free, but then the next airline, you might not have to. You might have to check it, or you might have to pay. So you have to factor in those things when you're making these decisions on booking the one way. It's a little risky, but it saves you a lot of money, especially when you're going to places like Greece. So like I was saying yesterday, it's very, very cheap to fly into London from Newark or the East Coast, and then go to Greece from there, because from UK or from London Heathrow Airport, it's like $149 to get from the UK to Greece, to go to Mykonos, Santorini, and all those, luxury islands that everybody wants to go to, rather than paying $900 to get there. So that would be my next tip. And I'm also going to show you guys how to do that as well. I'm going to show you everything that I'm breaking down. And when I break it down, I'm going to show you how these tips are going to help you find the most reasonable price for it. And do you guys have any questions about breaking down one ways? You can unmute yourself too if you do have a question.
I'm not sure if you already said anything about the incognito mode, but I couldn't hear that well. But is that true? Booking on incognito mode if it's cheaper?
Yeah, so I was going to show you guys that when I break it down for you, when I actually share my screen. But yes, is true, because your computer saves your cookies. So everything is saving your cookies. So airlines look at that, or their computer system looks at that, and it drives up the prices. So I usually use Google Chrome majority of the time, unless I'm on my phone, I use Safari. So you can just go, if you're on your phone on Safari, you can just go to private mode. But if you're on Google Chrome, they give you that incognito option, and then start looking for your flights as well as accommodations. What I've been noticing, not airlines, but like Expedia, Travelocity, if you're booking like a hotel, they'll drive up the prices if they notice that you're watching these prices and you want those days. So like, or if you have like, if let's say an event's coming up in the city, they'll drive up the prices as well. So incognito is definitely a thing that you should be doing if you're looking, if you're trying to keep that price. It'll eventually go up, but not as fast because they don't get the chance to save your cookies or anything. It's actually a good question. And then I wanted to get into the next tip, and I'm going to break this all down for you guys again. It's going to be compare your prices. I use multiple websites to compare my prices because Google Flights, sometimes their prices are expensive or they only limit you to leave out of one place and come back in that same place. Whereas Skyscanner, you can leave out of like Newark and come back into JFK. So, and they have better sites that you can book on. So better third-party sites that you can book with. And Google Flights doesn't really, it gives you some, but it doesn't give you the most. So that's why I mainly use Google Flights and Skyscanner. So those are the ones I compare all of my prices to, because I'm gonna get the best deal. And sometimes like I was doing Hawaii for a client and she wanted to go, I think next year in April 2022. And Skyscanner gave me $100 off, whereas Google Flights, they hiked it by $250. So it all depends, and just compare your prices so you know you're getting the best deal. And if you're scared of third-party websites because something comes up, cancellation, the good thing about Skyscanner is it books it through a third party, but you have to go through the actual airlines to make any type of change, whether it's a name change or somebody's no longer coming, an email change, adding your passport. So that's a good thing about Skyscanner, and that's why I use that rather than Kayak and the other website. I don't remember the other website, but that's the only two I really use to compare my flights, because Skyscanner is going to give you the best deal because it goes through all the deals on the websites, on all websites to bring you that for you. And okay. All right. So this one's a big one, and it's something that like my clients get frustrated by. But you have to know when to visit places. Some places are peak season. Like if you were like going to get back to Greece, if you're going through June or you're going through June, July, and even Easter time, the prices are going to be skyrocket because it's a peak season. People like to travel during Easter. People like to travel during holidays. So it's going to be extra expensive. So like looking for flight prices, they're going to be $900, and there's going to be almost wiggle room to get out of that, but not as much if you go through the lower seasons. So that being said, you have to know the seasons. Like you don't want to go to somewhere that's usually hot, but it's a rainy season for them. So like when I went to Guatemala, it was rainy season, but it only rained like once. Like it only poured once. Other than that, it was completely nice out. But let's say if you're going to like El Salvador or Brazil or Peru, their rainy season, it rains. It rains all the time compared to like Guatemala's rainy season. But then also the hot seasons as well are peak times as well. So you have to like figure out which time would be best for you to get there because of the seasons and the peak seasons on when they drive up prices. So like even during Christmas and holidays, like I said, you would want to book 4 or 5 months in advance because everybody's going to want a last minute travel. Somebody wants to go somewhere. Somebody either wants to go to Canada, Florida, somewhere. So they do drive up the prices based off holidays, or just based off seasons like the summertime. Kids are out of school. Everybody wants to go somewhere. Everybody wants to see something. So they do drive up prices that way as well. All right. And then the last one is a tip that not a lot of people know about, which I'm actually surprised. But track your flight prices. Like Google Flights gives you an option, Skyscanner gives you an option. All you have to do is put in your email and track your flight prices, because they will send you an email and let you know, okay, this is going up. This price has went up to this one, or this price has went down, which is it helps me find the greatest prices for my clients. So if you're not ready to book right now, or you don't have the money and you're waiting for the money to come in to book your flight, then it allows you to do these things. And I know there's an app called Hopper. I don't I only don't recommend it because they really be ripping people off. Like they'll say your flight price is $452, but you get on Google Flights and it's actually three something. Or they'll say, or booking. I don't recommend booking flights on Hopper at all. They give you the wrong flight prices, or they give you the airline's flight prices. So if you go to the actual direct website of like American Airlines and type in, I want to go to Newark to London, it'll give you like an outrageous number. Whereas you go to Google Flights or you go to Skyscanner, the number is actually pretty much lower. And they've been pretty consistent with that. That's why I don't recommend Hopper. Just use Google Flights to track your prices, and just use Skyscanner to track your prices because it goes directly to your email and it's very accurate from the dates that you want, from the you want to leave from the dates to come back. And it doesn't give you like, oh, this flight price is gonna go up. You kind of have to like play it by ear and pray that it's gonna stay for that long. And sometimes the good thing about this is that even though you're tracking these flight prices, they let you know like it's not like this is typical or this is not normal. So when it gets to the not normal part, you can either wait or you just book it right away. Because if not, you're gonna lose that price, and sometimes you just don't get it back. Do you guys have any questions about that? Yeah. And before I start sharing my screen with you guys to break it down on everything using these tips, this is gonna be like my last tip. Know the average price of going places. So the average price of going to like Turkey usually is like $700, and that's on a good day. But you can actually find deals for like $500, $400 round trip. You're gonna have a long layover, which in most cases fine to any like Asian, European countries. You do have a long layover, which is okay, but you have to know the average price because people booking clients is, I've learned that they always be like, that's not the price, that shouldn't be the price, and they're so surprised by the price. I'm like, do you know the place that you want to go to? Greece, $600. Turkey, $700. Japan, $900. So they are expensive. So you have to know the average price. So when when a deal comes out, you have to know. So you can know, like, oh, is this a really is this a good deal, or are they ripping me off? Because sometimes you can get a good deal, or it's their average price that they're selling to you, and you're just getting played. But if you know that, okay, this is like a $900 trip, but it just went down to like 600 or 500, that's a steal compared to 900. Like Japan there was a flight deal to Japan recently for March 2022, and the flights were $236. When does that ever happen? It truly just doesn't. So it's just like, that is a deal, because right now the flight, and then it was only that deal for 2 weeks, and then it went back up to $1,000. So you have to know when the average price and what is a great deal, so you just don't get ripped off by these airlines. All right, I'm gonna start sharing my screen with you guys so I can go through things. But if you guys have any questions, just unmute yourself and just ask. Hey, Brittany, I saw your question. Tips for planning group trips. In terms of tips, you mean like trying to get everybody on the same page, or price wise? Like, what do you necessarily mean by like tips, overall tips for group trips? Because I know sometimes it's hard to plan group trips because it's usually not it's usually hassle for the person who's planning it because not everybody's on the same page. All right, so tips, how to get people on the same page. Okay, so I would definitely, how to get people on the same page is pretty hard. But my tip for that would be go with people who are like-minded travelers like you. I've learned that I cannot travel with everybody because I like to have a plan. I don't like, the only time I like to wing shit is when I'm drunk or something. But if I'm not drunk, I don't want to wing it. So, and also I have anxiety. So I need to like things to be planned out to a certainty. And I also have like a certain aesthetic that I'm going for. So I need to have the hotel with the best view or the infinity pool. I need to have the accommodation that matches what I'm going for with the country as well. Um, and um I need the flight to be reason I need the flight to be reasonable. So I'm just I need to plan it. So get people with the same mindset as traveling as you. And then also travel styles are different. Like I went somewhere and they just went to stay in a rooftop pool for 3 days. No, I did not pay money to go to a rooftop pool. I would like to explore the city. So getting people on the same page so you can figure out where do you want to go to? Like if you want to go to Jamaica, that have everybody sit down, get some, lunch and just be like, hey, what do you guys think of going here? And then go from there. But and how to find deals for groups. So for groups, the best thing that I recommend is all inclusive resorts, just all inclusive all over. Unless you like to do Airbnbs, but you get more bang for your buck if you do all inclusive because the more people that's going in all inclusive, the less money it is per person, is what I've learned. So I've been booking some group trips, and a lot of people went to Turks and Caicos, and instead of paying 2,000 per person, they paid like 500 per person because they went on a group trip. So that definitely helps. So that definitely helps for you, and you just have to make sure people want to go to the same place as you. So, and also Groupon. People sleep on Groupon, but when it comes to group trips, Groupon is amazing, and you can find so many great like deals on Groupon for group trips. I think I hope that answered your question, but definitely just go with people who have the same travel mindset because if not, you're going to be upset and you ain't going to be friends like when girls leave from Miami and aren't friends anymore. And you don't want that. So go with people who actually have the money and are willing to spend and do the things that you want to do, like excursions, because trips are more than just flight and hotels, they're excursions as well. All right. All right, and Leslie, to answer your question, if there's an option of any sites to look at specifically places you'll have a layover, or do you really do have to research those, just to so it's a lot of planning when you're doing that way. So you really do have to research it. Like you got to sit there and take time and be like, okay, is it going to be best leaving from this layover, or is it going to be best leave from this? So it takes some time, and it takes a lot of research. I'm not gonna lie, but if you if you want to do it to get the best reasonable price, you're gonna want to do it.
I heard about this thing where people buy their flight, like they have a layover and they actually want to go to the place that they laid over at, and they just leave instead of paying to go directly to the place. They just buy to a different place that has a layover at this place, if that makes sense. And I was just like wondering, how do you know where this place, like where the layover is bought? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Are you talking about skip lag?
I don't know what skip lag. Maybe that is the name for it, but yeah, just going to the place where it's laid over at and staying there.
Okay, so I do understand that. I don't suggest it because airlines will cancel your entire flight. So you have
Oh, okay.
yeah, like you have to do the entire layover in the flight. If not, they will. If you, the only way you'll get away with it if you do a carry on. I don't suggest it though because they will cancel your entire flight and they will not refund you your money because you're not following you're breaking the rules. So I don't suggest it for that reason. Yeah, so Jess, you asked, will you be going over hotel discounts or deals, the best time to book? If we have enough time, I definitely will be going over it. For hotel deals, I can definitely say Hotel Tonight. That, and I'm gonna give you guys all these resources to use, but Hotel Tonight. So if you're like Hotel Tonight is best to be used when you're like last minute booking, but they always like it's the rooms that never fill up and they give it to you at last minute. So the only bad thing about it is you don't get to pick like if you're gonna have a double bed or a queen bed or a king bed, but you're getting at the best price. So definitely Hotel Tonight and Booking.com. If you haven't signed up for Booking.com, you always usually get a 10% discount. So they give you a 10% discount on hotels or Expedia. Rack up points on Expedia. Book your hotels or accommodations to Expedia because you rack on points and you can use that off on flights or hotels as well. Yeah, I can definitely break down the pricing for a group trip. I can definitely break down the pricing of it. So I'll show you on like using Cheap Caribbean. That's a really good one for group trips. I can definitely break down the pricing and for a group tip for a group trip. Let me just pay back. Okay, so for that second part, would you split and pay back or everyone for themselves? Honestly, this is a tough one because what I've learned some lessons. People will be like, "I'll can you pay for this?" or put this on your card and I'll cash app you later, and they never cash app you. So it's like you kind of want to do that because it's your friends, but then you're like, "Damn, I'm never gonna get that money back," or I have to hound you for my money back. So it's kind of like everyone for themselves. So it's like you either gonna send me this money with when it comes to group trips, you're gonna either gonna send me this money or you're not going. Like it's one or the other. You can't really give leeway with that just because stuff like that happens. They'll be like, I'll cash up you back and you never see the money. And that's the bad thing about group trips. That's why I'm saying you have to go with people who are like-minded like you and also have money. Money is most important because people really try to travel with $100 in their pocket and it's just not reasonable. You have excursions, you have food, and it's very selfish for your other friends that are going on the group trip, and it's literally no shade. It's just things that I've witnessed or people's stories that have told me, and I don't want this to happen to you guys. So I don't condone splitting it if you know they won't pay you back. But if you know they'll pay you back or give you the money, then that's fine. But if not, it's kind of everyone for themselves. Um, will you be going over solo traveling? No, I won't be, but I can give you guys a couple tips. I definitely wanted to do my own seminar about solo traveling. Um, the safety of it, it's a lot. Like that's a whole nother seminar within itself. Solo traveling because there's a lot of safety tips that I can give you and how to find things to do. But I'll give you one. Definitely book your excursions in advance because if you're going on excursions, you're going to meet other people. So it allows you to interact with other people, so you're not like alone. And sometimes even when I solo traveled in the Bahamas, I was only alone for 2 days because I stayed in a hostel. I know they have bad stigmas, but I promise you they're not bad. Like, and I met women like from Portugal. I met women from Germany, which we are now lifelong friends. And they're like, if you ever come to Germany, please visit me. They've never let me be alone. They took all my pictures. If you're worried about somebody, you're not getting your photos or anything. So definitely don't worry about that. But I'll definitely do a seminar for anybody who wants to is thinking about solo traveling. Because I plan a solo trip for next year for myself as well. And how did I feel when I first solo traveled? I'm not gonna lie to you, I was scared shitless because my first solo travel, I don't include Vegas because I ended up meeting my friend in like 2 days, and she lives in Vegas, so I ended up staying with her the rest of the way. But Bahamas, I was by myself. I got on the plane. That was my first real solo trip, and it was internationally. So I shared my location with all my friends back home. It's not like they could come to the Bahamas and save me immediately, but I shared just in case something happened. I knew how to contact customs if something did come up. And I also made sure I always had my phone charged and I had some type of internet or Wi-Fi so that I could communicate with somebody back home to let them know where I was at and where I was going, who I was with. And I made sure that I booked excursions to let to meet other people, to meet other people and to make and like the excursions were through like Get Your Guide, Travel, TripAdvisor, and stuff like that. So I knew that these were safe and I read reviews. I read reviews from everything that I did. I did eat alone and do stuff alone, but like where I went was it was very safe. So Googling before you Googling, guys, Google. I Googled everything. I Googled the crime rate of the Bahamas. I Googled like the women's safety, women's rights, because that's an important thing. If you see what's going on around the world, women's rights and how they treat women in other countries is so important. So I Googled all those things just to um, to make sure that I would be safe walking down the street by myself, or I would be safe getting in this taxi driver knowing I would make sure I would get to my place. So, I mean, I was a little naive when I went to the Bahamas. I didn't have like a driver set up to get from the airport to my hostel that I was staying up, but the taxi driver ended up being really, really nice. He gave me his number if I needed anything or needed to drive anywhere or recommendations on where to go. He was an older like Bahamian man and stuff like that. So just do the research before you go. I can't stress that enough, especially as a woman. Do the research because some places are sex trafficking places are very high, like France, Europe, sex trafficking is so high. And usually women of color, you'll do great in the Caribbeans because they think you're one of them. Like he thought I was Bahamian until I spoke with my African American accent. So so honestly, really just like do your research. And by Wi-Fi, do you mean portable Wi-Fi boxes? So no, Wi-Fi meaning like, does your stay have Wi-Fi? I also bring a portable Wi-Fi with me because like when I was in Guatemala, their Wi-Fi sucked. Like it was in and out, it was inconsistent, and my phone carrier was also just very, very trash. So I brought my portable Wi-Fi and I can show you. It costs $150 and you can pay for any data that you're going to. So you pay for like 1 gigabyte per place. Like next month I'm going to another place that I'm gonna use it at. And it's like for 3 gigabytes it's $40. And I didn't even use all my gigabytes that I bought. So I will definitely add a link for that. And I actually already have it on my business page. It's in I think it's 5 things that you need to help your trip go smoothly. So that's there, but I'll add that link into the email as well so you guys can have it. So portable Wi-Fi boxes is amazing, and not those cheap ones. The one that I got, I'll show you. I didn't bring. Did I? Oh wait, yes, I did bring it with me. So this is what it is. It's a Sapphire, and it's travel Wi-Fi, and you can just set it up. There's an app on there, and you can just take a photo of this, and it sets it up, and then it comes with your SSID and then your password on there, which you can change, but I leave it this way because the more complicated your password is, the less somebody can hack your Wi-Fi. So you just turn it on, and then it boots up. It tells you how much power, and then the signal of your Wi-Fi, and then if you actually have Wi-Fi. And sometimes it takes a little bit. Like in Guatemala, it takes a long time because of the spots, the networks that it's trying to hit, so it's trying to load. And honestly, I see Jazz wrote Skiplag, guys. Please do not buy tickets off Skiplag. They will cancel your entire flight. Like seriously. All right. I hope that answers everybody's question. Because I want to start sharing this with you and breaking it down. Things. If you guys are good to go from there. right, guys. So I'm sharing my Google Chrome with you. So, like I said, you're gonna want to go incognito. Again, it won't save your browsing history, your cookies, your site data, any of the websites you visit, anything. It doesn't save anything, so it allows you to come back. And it doesn't, like when you close your laptop, it doesn't delete anything. So I'm gonna start with Google Sites. All right. So I don't really leave out of Philadelphia. Their prices they've been tripping with their prices lately. So I'm going to put in New York. And I'm going to show you all the benefits of Google Flights, and then I'm going to show you how I compare it to Skyscanner. And then usually what I do, depending on where I'm trying to go, I put in the entire, place that I'm trying to go to. So let's put the United States and then press search. All right. So the good thing about this, you can change these dates. And like I said, flexibility, it gives you that. So you can do September, you can do a week in September, a week in October, or you can do all and do a week within the next 6 months, and it gives you where you can go, or a weekend within the next 6 months. Like whatever you're trying to do, you can do that. Or if you have specific dates that you're trying to do, like your birthday is coming up and you're trying to do that, you can do that as well. And it tells you the cheapest place that you can go to. I know a lot of people usually don't want to travel in the US and much rather go somewhere else. With that being said, what does the US have to offer? I'm not gonna lie to you, a lot of people, there's a lot of shit going on in the US. Like I've learned that because I just planned myself a road trip, and I'm going, these are just a couple spots. I'll give you guys the drop on what I'm doing. So I'm going from New Mexico to Arizona to back to LA. So in New Mexico, there's a hot air balloon excursion going on. They have like a festival every year, and that's really dope because you can ride in a hot air balloon. You can watch them all go up. So it's like going to Turkey, but on a budget. So the hot air balloon, they have that excursion, and then they have the white sands. So they have a bunch of national parks in US that I think people sleep on. So you can go from like here's my itinerary. I'll give you guys my itinerary. So it's the hot air balloon, and then it's the white sands to take some photos, to just to do some sand surfing and stuff like that. And then it's probably to visit the town Pueblo, because it's a very old indigenous town that they still have with Pueblo set up. And I think it's actually really cool to acknowledge the people that live there, and also to just understand their culture. And then from there, I'm going to Arizona, and I'm going to go kayaking around a canyon, and then I'm going to go hiking. So there's this thing called Antelope Canyon that you can only go to with the indigenous people. And since it's closed because of COVID, they're like, indigenous people are not letting you through. The only way to get there is to kayak. So give me 1 second. Sorry about that, guys. But anyway, so yeah, so the only way you can get there is kayaking, and it's the river, the Glen River. It's not even really, it's a lake, but it's so nice and the views are amazing. So, and you wouldn't think that they have these things there, but it's really in Arizona, just there. And it's amazing. And then you get to hike the Antelope Canyon, and you can't go too far into it because the rest is owned by indigenous people and it's closed. But the views on kayaking over there is another great excursion to do with your friends. You can do it with 2 people, and to rent a kayak for like 2 hours, I think it's like $50 or less due to COVID. And then from there, I'm going from Arizona, and like I'm renting a car when I hit New Mexico, and I'm going to return the car when I get back to like LA so I can leave my flight. So when I get to LA, I'm going to do the Muir Woods, which is a really nice place. It almost looks like it's Twilight, the movie Twilight, but I'm pretty sure it's not. But it's really, really nice. They have really tall redwood trees and also Joshua Tree. It's a desert that has so many excursions in there. They have hot springs there. And they have nice Airbnbs that are there in the middle of the desert. They're really cool. They have hot tubs at these Airbnbs. They have pools at these Airbnbs. And it's really, truly nice. So don't sleep on just taking a road trip around the United States because they have amazing national parks. I just came back from a road trip in June. We did LA, I think. LA, I forget. I have bad memory. LA, I know we left out of Utah. LA, Vegas, and Utah. Vegas, Nevada, they have cars, broken down cars in the middle of nowhere, and they're all graffiti. It's really, really dope. And then in Utah, they have the Bryce Canyon, and they have a bunch of national parks in Utah. It's just extremely hot during the summer. It was like 109 degrees. So you have to pick when you want to go, but don't sleep on places in the United States. And I'll show you more as I go on these road trips. All right, so back to this Google Flights. So guys, give me a place that you guys want to go besides the US. If you don't want to do US. Honduras, okay. So Fiji. I'm gonna do Honduras first. I will tell you one thing, Honduras is honestly not a good place to go right now, but I'm gonna show you. So these are the average prices to go with a weekend trip within the next 6 months. And it's so cheap to fly into San Pedro, which a lot of people fly into there because the other places are, the other places are pretty pricey or really dangerous right now. There's this Blue Door accommodation that you have to go to. It's really, really cool in Honduras. But this is how, and if you want to go for, let's say, a week, the prices change. So they give you the basic prices of Honduras, and that's how you can maximize Google Flights as well. Or if you don't know where you want to go, you can just put in Europe. Let's say we want to go to Europe. It gives you the cheapest flight. Usually it's always very cheap to fly into London because the UK and US partnership that they have, it's really cheap. But within one trip within the next 6 months, 335 for Paris, 372 for Barcelona, 571 for Athens. So it doesn't give you, this is the only thing I don't like about Google Flights. It doesn't give you everything within a chronological order of from low to high. It just kind of puts in there, but 444 for Venice. And if you guys know the average price of these places, Barcelona, that's cheap compared to COVID prices where it's $575 to get to Barcelona. And I'm gonna show you guys how to, and if you, Dubai, okay. And then I'm gonna show you how she wants to do Dubai. Dubai is pretty expensive and kind of overrated. But I'll show you. So it's $500 to get to Dubai. So it's better to remember I was saying to create those layovers. It goes down to $371 if you're leaving from Lisbon, which is a major it's a major layover. That and Amsterdam is a major layover in Europe. And she said Fiji. I'm gonna let you guys know one thing. It's always going to be expensive to go to Fiji because there's not that many airlines going to Fiji. So the chance of you getting a good flight deal is very slim to Fiji, just because the airlines don't travel to these places often, like at all. Like they have like 4 or 5 flights going there, unlike flying into London, flying into Amsterdam, flying into Jamaica, or flying into the Caribbean. It's just very rare for people to like, let me just go to Fiji. It's very rare. So they don't offer many flights or airplanes or airlines going to Fiji. So it's very limited, and it's very hard to find deals there. And right now, going from September 11th to September 18th to get there from JetBlue is $295, which is very inexpensive, you guys. Very inexpensive, because usually just to get there in like Aruba, it's $495. So the good thing about Google Flights, it gives you the cheapest time to go there based off within the 6 months. All right. I want to show you guys another way. So I've been getting a lot of like Hawaii. So Hawaii, I get a lot of Hawaii. Do you see how expensive it is to leave from the East Coast to Hawaii? And that's even including within the next 6 months. So Honolulu is the main island, but a lot of people don't like it. It just doesn't offer a lot of things that you would want to do. So going to this one, and I think there's another one, Honolulu, is definitely the one that you want to do. But look at this. The prices go down. So Honolulu to, well, LAX to Honolulu is $194, compared to you're paying $444 and you still might have a layover in LAX. Whereas when you can fly from New York to LAX for like $75. I did that in June, so you can definitely do that and then pay the $194. Just make sure your times add up. So let me show you. Let me just do a quick. Yeah. 87 was, I know you guys don't like Spirit. Well, not honestly, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I haven't had any bad things with Spirit. I've never had a flight cancel on Spirit. Well, once when I was going to Aruba, but they provided me a $50 refund, and they also gave me a place to stay, so for free, that I didn't have to pay out of pocket. So let's say you're going to LAX and the round trip is $87. I don't like layovers, so let's see how much it would be if you. I do recommend Spirit. Like, I'm not a Spirit hater. Like, if it gets me where I need to go, I'll definitely do it. Frontier is where I draw the line. You will not see me on Frontier. I don't fly Spirit often though. I'm not gonna lie. I don't fly Spirit often. So look, so a nonstop flight is $194 for October. With United, I prefer Delta, but let's just put United. So you get there at 11 in the morning, and you're leaving out of EWR. So this is for LA, and then let's put LA for these same dates. Not fainted. Why are you almost fainting? And then let's put these same dates that they gave us. So let's just put in Honolulu because it's the cheapest right now. And the good thing about Hawaii, if you want to go to the other islands, it's cheap. It's cheap to go from each island because you're already there. So let's view flights. So remember, we did that round trip to LA. So it's a nonstop flight. You get there at 11:34. And it doesn't always have to be the same airline, by the way, guys. It doesn't always have to be the same airline. So you can do Delta late in the day for 5:10 p.m. and just explore LA, explore LA for a little bit before you go to your next flight. Or let's see. So yeah, so the best one for me would be, because 7 p.m. is way too late. You want to get there at a reasonable time. So we could do 5:10 to get over there, and then what time your flight is? 4:10 p.m. to get back. You want to give yourself enough time to board. So this one would work, but you would be cutting it close. This one would work, but you would just be cutting it close. Do you see what I mean when you're like breaking down the flights in one ways? Or I mean, well, these are round trips, but you can break it down in one way, so like you're not worried about the round trips that they offer you. But that's another way. And then the total for these prices would be, so it's $198, like $400. It's like $300 because this one wasn't that much. So you're not paying $500 for $400. You're paying $300. You're still saving some money to go to Hawaii. But if you do want to pay the $400, you can. It's just all about saving and finding things for a reasonable price. The only bad thing about Hawaii is it's expensive when you get there. So everything's expensive. All right. So why not Frontier? Honestly, so I don't like Frontier because no, I just draw the line. Frontier is just, it's giving. Do you guys ever see the movie Soul Plane? It's giving Soul Plane. It's giving Soul Plane. It is, honestly, it's really a budget airline. Like I flew it once because I found a round trip to Colorado for $80, but it just wasn't giving. Like they delayed my flight, so I was supposed to board 12. They delayed it to 3 a.m. So we were in the airport for 3 hours waiting, and then the seats suck. Like you need a chiropractor after flying with Frontier, and then you have to pay for your checked on luggage. Like I highly don't recommend. Like it's giving very low budget. Like they just threw it together and said, hey, we're going to call it an airline. So that's the only reason why I don't recommend. And their prices are very affordable though. That's the only good thing about it. But I draw the line at Frontier. Spirit I can do, I draw the line at Frontier. All right, and I'm gonna show you guys Skyscanner. Do you guys have any more questions about like Google flights? And don't worry, at the end we're gonna just choose one place, all of us that agree, and then we can just show you how the best place. And then if we have enough time, we can definitely do accommodations. All right, so Skyscanner. Skyscanner is like my favorite website because it gives you an option to leave. You'll see here. You're leaving from New York. You don't know where you want to go. Put me to the whole month, and it gives you, and you get the option to cheapest months to fly anywhere. So another tip is let the websites tell you where you want to go. Like I went to Aruba because it was $190. Like it was cheap. It was cheap to go to, so I just went there. So let the airlines tell you want to go by the cheapest price. Just let the airlines tell you or the websites tell you where you want to go. And sometimes that's the best way. It's like if you don't have a destination in mind, you just want to travel somewhere, using this option of like going everywhere and the cheapest month, like, and it's the good thing. And another good thing about Skyscanner, it's in order from low to high. So United States, and this is all of United States from $35, and then Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Colombia, Guatemala, Canada, Ecuador. Like, it gives you everything from low to high. This is a good price. $192 for Turks and Caicos. For, I know people were asking about that one yesterday. That's a good price because usually Turks and Caicos is $400 round trip. So Costa Rica, Jamaica, Nicaragua, Bahamas, all these places, it gives you from low to high. So that's what I love about Skyscanner. And let's say you also have a destination in mind. Jamaica, cheapest month. Cheapest month to go to Montego Bay, $272, which is a great price. It's usually so expensive to go to Jamaica. And it gives you this, and you can play around with the dates. So let's say you want to do 111 here. It lets you play with the dates. So like I said, use those, the Tuesday, Wednesday thing that I told you about. Tuesday, Wednesday. So that's a good one, 241. So you're leaving on the 13th, coming back on 16th, 4-day trip, and then you can find your flight. Sometimes. And it gives you the option of cheapest. 302 is actually a good, like, a good thing too. I don't know. I don't really like layovers anymore, just because during COVID layovers, you have to know the COVID laws per each country if you have a layover. So like if you're going from here to Mexico and they have a layover in like Puerto Rico or something, you have to know both COVID laws. And if your layover is pretty long, you might have to get another COVID test. So I don't. That's the only reason why I don't like layovers during COVID, because going into different places is very, unless you're fully vaccinated, you're really limited because you would have to either pay an extra to get a COVID test, or if their COVID laws, like let's say, because I know with Turks and Caicos, if you have a layover in Turks and Caicos, they're only accepting fully vaccinated people, which is Europe is doing right now. So if you're not vaccinated, you're not even allowed to sit. You're allowed to sit in the airport, but you got to book your flight back home because they're not even gonna let you in. So it's like you have to know the COVID laws everywhere you go with, even with a layover. So that's the only bad thing about layovers. So if you're thinking about any type of layovers, definitely stick within the United States unless you want to do more research or get another COVID test or get fully vaccinated. So they have deals here. Like 302 is a really good deal for Jamaica. But if you don't want to do that, you have 265. Another thing bad about Spirit is their times. Like, I don't know. I don't like their times sometimes. So this is a good one. You're leaving out of LaGuardia at 6 a.m. and you have one stop, which is not bad because you're not going into another country where you need to know COVID regulations. You're stopping in Florida. And like I said, it's always cheaper to fly from Fort Lauderdale or Miami, which you'll be leaving from Fort Lauderdale to go to Jamaica. And it's only an hour and 49 minutes. So that's enough time for you to get off your flight and get to your next gate so you can get onto your next flight. And it's Spirit, so usually within the same airlines and you have a layover, you're not running to the next gate because it's usually right there. And if they do delay, or if your first flight gets delayed and your second one it overlaps, they'll give you a refund or book you another flight depending on the day, because Spirit has been canceling a lot of flights as well as American Airlines. But this is a good deal, $265 for only an hour layover. But the back home, it's not a good deal. So that's the only bad thing. Like, you got to look at these really well, because Spirit, I can't. Like your layovers, like you wouldn't mind because you get explore layovers in Fort Lauderdale, but it's just too long of a wait. 6 hour, 7 hour wait. And that's another thing about Skyscanner. It lets you leave from like Newark and come back in JFK. And that's only good for people if you're not keeping your cars there. So if you get there and you're just traveling by the subway or the air train that they do have for the airports, that's good because you can fly into like you can fly into JFK and then fly back into LaGuardia, or you can fly into JFK and fly back in Newark, and that makes your trip 10 times cheaper. And by the way, I don't know if nobody knows about the air train, but the air train is very easy to use to navigate from JFK to LaGuardia to EWR without paying like Uber prices to get there. So you're actually saving money through this air train. I literally just discovered it this year. I don't know where I've been, but definitely check that out whenever you're like in the airport. And then my other big tip is, I don't know if people know about these, but if you're like, let's say we're going to Europe, let's put Europe in. Let's just do anywhere. If you have a layover in Europe and you have like a long layover, let's say we want to go to like Paris and we have a long layover in Amsterdam, and like their COVID laws, you've done everything to match Amsterdam's COVID laws and like Paris's COVID laws, you can literally add that as a trip because you have to get your passport stamped. You have to go through customs and all that. And if it's like a 23-hour layover, use that time to explore the city. Amsterdam has a lot to do. You can see the Van Gogh Museum, that real Van Gogh Museum, ride a bike down there. They have a tulip field. You might not be able to get to there in time, but use that time to explore a new city. If you have a long layover that's internationally, use that time. And that's another way to add more trips or more passports to, or more stamps to your passports. That's the only reason why I like long layovers. Some people are just like, I don't like it. I don't like them domestically. I don't want to explore, not gonna lie. I would rather do that internationally. So let's see, let's do Spain. So Barcelona, I went to Barcelona and it was really nice. And another thing, it's so cheap to travel within Europe. So when I went to Europe 2019, I flew from Newark to London and I stayed there for I think 3-4 days. And then from there, I flew from London to Barcelona for $11. $11 on they have affordable like airlines that you can use that you find. It was $11. And then I stayed in Barcelona for another 4 days. And then from there, I flew to Paris for 16 bucks. 16 bucks. And it was only a one way because I was leaving out of Paris and I was going back home to Newark. So, all right, guys. So that's another way to like maximize your time or create a bigger trip. So I like next year I am going to Italy, but I'm flying in and out of Rome, but I'm using the train station to get around all of Italy. So I'm doing all parts of Italy, and I'm just using the train station because I don't want to fly. Okay, so we're gonna go to Spain. We're going to Spain, guys. We're going to Barcelona. Let's leave only Thursday. And let's say we want to make this a 2-week trip type thing. Let's find place. 361 is not long. And also know your airlines. Some international airlines are trash. They'll overcharge you for everything. Like they'll overcharge you for literally just breathing. So know which airlines to fly on, especially internationally. Like, because some of these budget airlines are trash. Like a really good budget airline for Europe is Ryanair. They're really good, but some of their airports that they fly into are so far from the destinations, so you have to worry about booking somebody to pick you up or making sure you have some type of driver or way you're getting to your Airbnb or hotel that you're staying at, because some of them they're just too far. let's go up here. Let's do cheapest, 364. 364. And the good thing about this airline is if you go to their site, it's cheaper than booking on Skyscanner, is what I've learned. Oh, this is not all the way over. And there's a rule actually, if you have a long layover, the airlines, like if your layover is way too long, they pay for your room. So they pay for you to stay overnight so you can explore for free. Okay, so this one's a pretty long layover coming back home. All right, so this is not a good one. Let me see. Is it cheaper to leave on a weekday or a weekend? Definitely cheaper to leave on a weekday. It's too expensive to leave on a weekend. They charge you. Everybody's traveling on a weekend because, like I said, my 9 to 5ers. If you work a 9 to 5, you have off on weekends. Everybody's traveling on weekends. It's always cheaper to leave on a weekday than it is Monday. It's expensive to leave because everybody's traveling on Mondays. That's why I say Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are the best day. Sometimes Wednesdays you get the best deals. Don't the people who say that you got to be up at a certain time to book a flight, like 12 o'clock at midnight, that's a myth. I'm telling you guys now. 12 midnight is going to be the same price when you wake up at 6 a.m. unless they decide to change it. So it's definitely a myth. All right, I'm going to pick somewhere else to go to. Okay. All right, let's do Thailand. Let's do Thailand since there's always a bunch of questions about Thailand. And also, guys, Bali's, I get a lot of questions about Bali's, or I get a lot of clients that want to go to Bali. Bali is not open. We don't know when they're going to be open, but they're not open for US citizens or anybody right now. So if you guys are wondering, and that's why sometimes if countries are going back into lockdown or they're just limiting, you don't have many flight prices to get there or flight options like if they weren't on lockdown. So if you're wondering why you can't find a good flight deal to that place, it's because they're not going to be good like flight options there because either the country's in lockdown or it's restricting how many airplanes can go in and out of the country. All right, so we're going to go to Bangkok. And the good thing about Thailand is it's so cheap. Airbnbs, $23 a night. Hotels, they're having a sale right now in Thailand for fully vaccinated people. Hotels are $1. And I'm going to put the list up of what hotels there's going to be that are $1 because not all hotels, but they're $1, which is crazy because of COVID, and they're trying to get tourism. So let's leave on a Wednesday and come back next Thursday. All right, so the cheapest is $685. 658, sorry, excuse my dyslexia. And sorry about the background. They're like having the time of their lives out there. You hear that? But see, like somebody asked about Dubai. You won't be able to see much. The good thing about Dubai is everything's close. So everything is within each other. So if you have this 9-hour layover to come back and you want to explore Dubai for a little, or you want to go, you want to just see what Dubai has to offer, that 9-hour layover gives you time to do that. But you also have to be back in time to check back in because you're leaving. So you're getting the passport stamp, you're leaving. So you have to have enough time to go through customs all over again. You have to have enough time to just go through that long line of security all over again. So if you're going to do that, make sure, I would say, give yourself more than nine hours. This one's pretty expensive, but I just want to. All right, guys, do you guys have any questions for me? I do want to give you guys just a chance to just ask any questions, any free-for-all questions too, since it's already like at 7:57. You also still have your luggage, right? So that limits what you can do and explore. No, so the good thing about this is most airlines have a place where you can like leave your luggage for the day, or you can Google. So you can Google where you want where you can leave your luggage, and then you can explore luggage free. So airports offer it. You can leave your luggage there. You do have to pay a price depending on how much luggage you have, the size of your luggage, and then you can leave it there and explore free. But like I said, if you have a 23-hour layover or a 24-hour layover and it's so long, the airlines pay for your room and board. They pay for your room and your food. So you just have to put it on your ticket. You have to put on a ticket that you want that option. A lot of people don't know that. They think they're just going to get it, but you don't. So you have to put it on your ticket option or give them a call and it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to explore. Can you book my room for me? And they do it. They send you a voucher. You go to the hotel that they book underneath of them. You just check in. You can leave your luggage there and you can go and explore. Specific airlines. So is it better to book one way than leaving than when booking? Can you just reword that? I don't understand that one. I'm sorry. And then specific airlines. Okay, so it's usually for international airlines because domestic airlines don't do it. They're not going to pay unless they cancel or delay your flight. They're just not going to do it. So definitely international airlines. So domestic is trash. International, yes. Like Turkish Airlines, amazing. They have beds you can lay down on, like, because their flights are so long. Your flights are so long. So, and then I have specific airlines in my notes. I'm gonna put them in your email for like international airlines where you can do that. If you have a long layover, that they will offer you hotel rooms. My friend got screwed over by Spirit because like I can't find it. Wait, what? First of all, by federal law, Spirit is supposed to do that. So if his flight got canceled due to like an engine problem, they're either supposed to offer him a refund immediately, or they're supposed to supply him with a room. So when I went to Aruba, my flight got delayed, but then it ended up messing with my layover. So we just stayed in Florida, and they offered us a place to stay, and they offered us a free pickup from the airport back to the hotel so we can catch our next flight. So, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it was like wild because he was supposed to come back on like a Tuesday or something, and then his flight got canceled. I think maybe because of the weather, but they kept saying like the only flight they had available was like for Saturday. And he's like, I gotta go. Like, what do you mean? Like, I got work and stuff. And they were like, yep, sorry, we can't like fly you out. And then he was like, can I stay somewhere? Like what's good? And they were just like, no, like, I mean, you can like leave the airport if you want, and then you just have to come back. And he was like, I'm like a place to stay, and they like didn't offer him anything, so he ended up just like paying out of pocket for like a new flight to get back to New York. And it was like something crazy because he needed to get back for like the next day, so he paid like almost like over $400 something to get back from Texas to New York.
So first things first, he should have been like, where's my refund if you're not going to give me a place to stay? And if you're paying out of pocket for these things, they're supposed to reimburse you. They don't tell you these things, but they're in the fine print. Like they're literally in the fine print. So since they canceled on him, they're supposed to provide him a place to stay, especially if the next flight is not till Saturday. They are supposed to do that. Like it's a federal law for them. They have to do that. So Spirit is tripping. I don't even know how they got away with it. And I wish he like knew some of these things so he could have argued back with them or be like, can I speak to a manager? Or just call them. I know like sometimes call times are a lot, but they do have the numbers like call on WhatsApp or use your phone that you can text them and you can get through a lot faster than calling them is what I've been learning. So like a lot of my clients have been trying to like change things and I'm just like use WhatsApp or text them from your phone because you're gonna be waiting on the phone for like an hour or 2 hours just to get them. And then when booking a trip, should we always book it as a one-way? Then when we are leaving that country, book another ticket to head back home? No, I only book one-ways if it's a cheaper option. I do actually suggest round trips, but sometimes if you break it down as one-ways, you get better bang for your buck. You're not spending as much money as like you're paying $700 versus $400. I'd rather spend $400 than $700, and you said $300 for an excursion or something. So I don't recommend always booking one ways because like you can get delayed and then next thing you know you're stuck in a part of a country that you don't even want to be in. So only when you're trying to go to a most expensive place that it's cheaper to just fly into somewhere else for that one way than it is to do a round trip. All right. Do you guys have any question? I think we have some time to do like accommodations or something. Do you have any accommodation? So we have like 10 minutes to do accommodation. You guys have any accommodation questions? Airbnb versus hotel. That's hard. So, okay. So let me do this quickly. So Airbnb, it all depends. It really all depends. Airbnb is good for if you I'm like I said earlier, I'm a master of aesthetics. I know what I want. I'm gonna get what I want. So Airbnb has sometimes they have these hidden gems where like you can stay in the middle of a jungle, whereas hotels they can't provide you that. So it all depends where you're going. So for the option that you choose, like for an Airbnb, like if I'm going out of the country, I might choose an Airbnb because you can like Airbnb gives you the options to do those quirky, unique stays, and I always offer them because I like the tiny houses. I like the middle of the nowhere. I like that because also you have your own space, and it gives you better options like a kitchen for you to heat up your food, to heat up, to just come and go as you please. Whereas hotel, it's not really. But like when I go to New York or where I'm staying domestically, I prefer hotels because they're cheaper. They're cheaper because these Airbnb service fees and cleaning fees doing too much, and then they charge you more just for an extra person. It's like another $60. It's just doing too much. But when you leave, like Thailand, $23 for an Airbnb for you to be in the middle of the jungle, have an infinity pool, have like you have everything, and all your friends can fit in there for $23 a night. You can't beat that. Rather than a hotel that they might charge you $500 a night. So it really all depends where you're going to. I do prefer an Airbnb, but it all depends where I'm going. Because I like to heat up my food. I like to take food home and stuff like that. But sometimes an Airbnb is a lot better because you're spending less money or you're getting the aesthetic that you want. Any other questions, guys? We do have like a little less than 10 minutes. And remember, guys, I am recording this, so I will send it to you guys with all the other things that I'm going to like send, like Hotel Tonight, stuff like that. It's like I did a Twitter version of this like 2020, literally right before like COVID happened. It was like we're traveling, no, we're not. But those are so outdated because of COVID, and COVID laws changed everything. Do you guys have any COVID questions? Because I know like I get a lot of clients that just only want COVID precautions and stuff like that. But right now, a lot of places are requiring fully vaccinated people only. So that's the bad thing about it. any other questions, guys? Or did I answer a majority of your questions? If you're fully vaxxed, you need a negative COVID test. Some places, if you're fully vaccinated, you don't need a negative COVID test. Some places, if you're fully vaxxed, you still need a negative COVID test so you don't have to quarantine. So it all depends. So and that's another thing about the bad thing about COVID, they're always changing rules every single day. Every single day, a new country, like a country's, there's new rules. Like, you need this. Is it photo? So they definitely need the physical. Okay, here's another thing, guys. Here's what I'm learning. I just learned today by doing research. Some places like Turks and Caicos are not taking the physical card. You have to upload it onto your phone. There's this vax site that I will put in there as well for you to upload your vaccination cards, but they're not accepting physical if you're coming from the United States. So, and a photo of your card is definitely not enough. You have to upload it to this one site that you're doing. Has countries been shutting down because of Delta? No, they aren't, but they're limiting how many people can come in and out of their country, and they're also limiting, like, they're changing the requirements. So, like, now you definitely have to be fully vaccinated. They don't even give you the option to not be fully vaccinated and come in with a negative COVID test. You need to be fully vaccinated. So they're not shutting down because a lot of countries took a hit during COVID, and they lost capitalism, so they lost a lot of money. So they're not shutting down, but they're limiting. Just like in the United States, New York, you can only go into places if you're fully vaccinated. Puerto Rico now, for you to book an Airbnb, for you to book a hotel, you have to be fully vaccinated now. You can't even have a negative COVID test. You have to be fully vaccinated. So they're not shutting down. They're just creating stricter restrictions. Oh, yes. Wow. I wish you asked this earlier. Yes. Any advice? A lot of advice on credit card rewards at points with traveling. So if you have a travel credit card, I don't know if anybody does, but if you have a travel credit card, please use it for your daily purchases like gas or paying like a small phone bill or a bill that's really cheap. Rack up those points because they'll get you the points so you can get free flights. So like this, I personally don't have one, but my friend does, and she uses it for like small purchases and racks up the points, and she got a free flight to like Colombia. Like it ended up, all the points were building up, and she flown to so many different places because she racked up on points. And it's great, like if you're renting a car because they cover your car insurance. You don't have to pay car insurance or any of that. As well as they give you, if you don't use your card, like COVID was happening, so nobody was traveling, they give you a $700 refund because you're not using your card. So travel credit card reward points is amazing. Like, I highly recommend. And I can give you more advice. I can include that in there for you as well, since we don't have enough time to go through all of it. Sapphire, there's Chase Sapphire is the one I highly recommend. And I'll list I only really like that one because it gives you all those benefits, whereas other ones like, oh well, Amex or some American Express, but some countries don't accept American Express. But I'll include those in there as well. So Chase Sapphire, and they have two different ones. One has a heftier annual fee that you have to pay, and one has a less annual fee that you would have to pay. And also another thing, Discover is not they don't use Discover in like Europe. So if you have like a Discover travel credit card, they don't use that over there. So think about that as well. And I also lastly want to mention, you guys, travel insurance. I really wanted to mention this, and it just came up. Travel insurance. You need travel insurance, especially during COVID, because if you test positive on your way home from an international trip because you need a COVID test to come back, that's more money out of your pocket. That's more money out of your pocket. Whereas if you have travel insurance and you get sick, you go to the hospital, it's always cheaper than the United States, but the travel insurance, they reimburse you. Or if the airlines, they lose your luggage, they lose something valuable, you have travel insurance. It covers it. They give you your money back. You see it a little later, but they give it back. They give you the check back in the full amount of what the item is. Like if you lose a MacBook, they give you the money back. Or if you even if you get robbed, like my friend almost got robbed in Colombia. Like if you get robbed or something like that, they give you the money back. So make sure you have travel insurance, especially during COVID, just because, and make sure the travel insurance includes COVID. If it doesn't include COVID, you would have to pay out of pocket for these things. And I can list a couple of the travel insurances that I usually use because the airlines ones are, but World Nomads is a good one for travel insurance. Any other question, guys? I'm gonna just start wrapping up here. I have like 3 more minutes, so I'm just gonna wrap up. Any question you guys think of? It can be anything that you may have or you were thinking about. Yeah, there's tons of countries that allow you to enter without being vaccinated. Tons, but I know most of Europe right now, because a lot of people are trying to go to Europe, you can't. Turks and Caicos, no. Jamaica, you can. Bahamas, you can. All of Central America, you can. South America, you can. I just would be careful with some of these places because they have high COVID rates, like Brazil. Brazil is almost like our Florida. They never really shut down, so their COVID cases are through the roof. So a lot of people that travel there have been getting tested positive, like testing positive for the way home. So they have to stay there, and you don't want to do that. And then my last point that I do want to make is being vaccinated, traveling without like a vaccine card. Don't let that discourage you. Like if you're not vaccinated, but just make sure you're like extremely following the rules. You can get fined if you don't wear a mask out there. They do not take it lightly. And another thing is, if you travel to one country, like let's say you're going to Brazil, and then next month you want to go to the UK, they have an amber list. Some places have lists that if you travel to this one place, you can't get into this place for like 2-3 months later. So they have lists that like what countries that they won't let you go in if you've been to that place. So you need to know these things. Like if you're like a frequent traveler like I am, but it's called, they have like a red list, an orange list, and an amber list. If a country's on that list and you've traveled to like Brazil and you want to go to the UK next month, they're not going to let you in. They're not going to do it. And I can like list you guys some countries like in the email. So I have this, I'm making the email as I go for you guys. So I can give you the recording and also make sure I have everything, answer all your questions from this to let you guys know. You guys have any more questions? We're about to just wrap up and leave. And you can unmute yourself if you. You guys can unmute yourself if you just want to say something out loud. Yes, so even if you came in late, I'll definitely send you a recording. You still showed up, you still attended. It's just for all the people. I wrote down the people who attended. They will get the recording. So if you still came in and you showed up and you attended, you would definitely get the recording. Thank you, Jazz. Honestly, it was nice just sharing all my tips with you guys. And if you guys do ever get any more questions, just feel free to like just write me, DM me, or email me. I check my emails before I check my text messages because I'm old. But just email me. And I will get back to you as soon as possible. And I will not be doing another one of these seminars for the people that are asking because I'm just not going to. So that's why I said the recording is going to be super beneficial to you guys. So you guys can go back and just go through. And I will try to put timestamps in the email to let you know what time I started talking about. So you're not looking through the entire video trying to figure out which place or which part I answered your question. Thank you. Thank you, guys. And if you guys ever want to go on I don't really announce my trip to people. But if you're like a great traveler and you want to go on a trip with me somewhere, you can just always DM me and ask me where I'm going next. And I'll let you know. I know I'm going to Italy. It's going to be a girls' trip, and Manny's coming. So if you want to come to Italy, I plan everything out. So you guys can just DM me and just make sure you're payment ready because it's kind of everybody for themselves. If you're not payment ready, you ain't gonna get there. Oh yes, my ebook, I including travel credit cards, so I didn't want to leave it in today. There's like 2 more things that I want to include, so it'll be available to purchase by next week, the 26th. And it includes everything, even things that I didn't even talk about today, because there's so much I didn't talk about, like solo travel will be in there, everything will be in there. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you guys for showing up. I appreciate you all, and thank you guys for supporting me and my brand. I appreciate you guys all, and if I do get to meet you guys or go on a trip, you guys, I appreciate it so much. I adore you guys. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, don't forget to. Oh, thank you. It's in Rec Philly. But yeah, thank you guys so much. And the ebook is going to be $25, by the way, if you guys are wondering what the price is. So I'll see you guys soon. If you have any questions, please email me or DM me or on Instagram, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. But definitely email me because I check that first before anything. All right, guys, I'm going to leave now. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Be safe. And if you have any questions, please DM me.